Greetings. Welcome to the Captive Desk. Please join me in welcoming Jim Hall to the Captive Desk. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you. Good to be here. we smoothed over some rough edges, but those things. A channel it could be 10 years old, and yeah, you could have 3 or 4 producers, and there will still be tech issues. It's just the nature of the beast. So. Yeah, good to be here.
That's a lesson for everybody watching. Hey, if a goof happens, just start over. It's all good, and everything works. All right, so I got a little intro for Jim, and then we're going to have a nice little chat, and I hope everybody enjoys listening. Jim Hall is a husband and father of 2. He's a retired combat U.S. Marine who has served on 5 continents. He's been in 43 countries and multiple combat tours. He's a former Vail Tudo MMA heavyweight champion. He describes himself as a cradle atheist. He's an activist, blogger, YouTuber, debater, author, a member of the Atheist and Christian Book Club, a competitive chess player, on the board of directors at Metroplex Atheists, an avid disc golfer, and the host of Disc Oriented. The Atheist and Christian Book Club is a monthly gathering of skeptics and believers, sometimes with the authors attending, respectfully discussing important books from both perspectives. Jim started Atheist Edge, a YouTube channel, in 2017. It has over 700 videos and over 1 million views. He passed the channel's torch to Kaz recently. Kaz does a great job hosting as well. And you can also catch him helping James out moderating at Modern Day Debate too. You may also have seen Jim on Modern Day Debate, on the line with Matt Dillahunty, and on the Non Sequitur Show with Steve McRae, among many others. Jim has authored 4 books. Most People Believe in God. Can They All Be Wrong? The Christianity Counter Apologetics Handbook, and I have Jim's book here. We can talk about that a little bit. Pulling Back the Green Curtain, 666 Things Your Religious Leaders Never Taught You. And he also has some role-playing game books as well. Emberleaf, a tabletop fantasy role-playing game, simplified, and Solo RPG Toolkit, a collection of tables for solo fantasy RPG gaming. I'll have all the links in the description. They were all in there. I'm probably going to have to fix that, but it'll be taken care of. All the links will be in the description. Jim also has a list of the 23 atheist commandments, and we'll talk about that a little bit too. I want to thank Jim for his military service, and also as well for all you've done in the theist community as well. Jim reached out to me and offered me some advice on my channel, and many others have as well in the community, and thank you. It's appreciated. Jim and I were talking on Facebook, and he offered advice about my channel and offered to come on my channel that I appreciated, so I thought, let's combine it all, have Jim on, and share about his many interactions, experiences in the atheist and theist communities, so everybody can hear it as well. So, Jim, if you can take us back for a moment, and let's start at the beginning with a cradle atheist. Can you tell folks what you mean by a cradle atheist?
I will. Bookmark that. That was you did your homework, boy. I forgot half the things that you just listed up. Yeah, you definitely did your homework. So 2 very minor corrections. It's okay. I did 750 videos on Atheist Edge before I passed the torch. I think it was 750 instead of 700. And the Metroplex Atheist, I'm no longer on the board of directors anymore. I was their secretary for 2 years, but I'm still, I guess, by proxy, a member of that organization. But as you'll learn later in the talk, I've kind of reduced my atheist activist activities purposefully it was originally just to take a break, and it still might be, but for now, I'm enjoying just activism can take its toll on your psyche over time. You need breaks sometimes. And so I might get back into it, but yeah. The other thing, the Houston Valley Tudo, that, people that are familiar with mixed martial arts, of course, the UFC is the top, but there's lots of arena events. There's lots of lesser type of competitions. And one of them is the Valley Tudo. And there's one held in Tokyo, there's one held in Rio de Janeiro, and one in Houston. So the one in Houston, 1997, that's the one I won, but it's Valley Tudo. I think it's Portuguese for free fighting. I'm not even sure about that. And then the only thing you didn't mention that you might not even be aware of was I invented also the Hall credibility scale. And I'll send it to you maybe after the show, but it's a way to objectively analyze and measure your intellectual honesty, basically. Like, how open is your mind? How often have you changed your mind? In this, you can look at it objectively. So maybe we can talk about that later. But to answer your question, cradle atheist, I guess most people now know. Say I didn't even know what the term meant until I joined the Atheist and Christian Book Club, and all the Christians were introducing me to other Christians as, yeah, he's a cradle atheist. And it took me a few times. I was like, what do you keep labeling me? What is that, cradle atheist? And so they explained it to me in the way it's not a pejorative. They mean it in a positive way, but it just means somebody who never caught the God virus, but they won't explain it like that. Someone who never caught the God virus. My parents were fairly devout Southern Baptists. They went to church every Sunday. I was in vacation Bible school for 3 summers. I have never once to this day sincerely prayed. I was never saved, never been baptized. That's a cradle atheist. It just never took with me. Luckily, I had parents, ex-hippies, who let me think on my own, didn't indoctrinate me, didn't raise me a certain way, and let me think on my own. And so by the time, I think this started around 6, but by the time I was 8 or 9, my mom had me as a sideshow. She would have like a house party and have some Christian friends over, and she'd be like, Jimbo, come in here. And, I guess at age 8 or 9, I was already like this little, I don't know, pull them on and tell them what you know about. And so it wasn't high level theology. It was like, why do Adam and Eve, do they have belly buttons or not? Stuff to just make stuff to make Christians think, stuff that I must have reinvented the wheel, because I thought of most of this stuff on my own, even though it had already been thought of. Stuff like, if now this was as a 8, 9, 10-year-old, I remember already thinking about, I didn't know what really free will was, but I thought, are we in control of our actions? If everything's according to God happens, that's not according to his plan, I could just sit here on this chair for the rest of my life. God, that was his plan. I could do nothing, or I could go off and do something horrible, but that was part of his plan. So the whole free will and God's plan thing was already in my head. And I think I came up with it independently. I don't know if I didn't know any atheists back then. I didn't know any non-believers. In fact, I didn't know what the word atheist was until I was 15, and immediately adopted the label. That's the long version of what cradle atheist. Sorry, I told you I could talk.
Yeah, no problem. No, I never knew what atheist was. I always tell people Carl Sagan was the guy that came on the Tonight Show with the cool space stuff. I had, atheist never was in my vocabulary, so when people ask me, are you an atheist? I'm a non-believer. I never really stuck with the label because I just never really, it wasn't something I grew up with or anything.
Did Sagan back then ever even mention the word atheism? Never. No. We had, I had his daughter on, Sasha Sagan. I had her on the show once, and a lot of things that he never said on air, but that he said to his family, and she recounted stuff. I don't think he was purposely influential, but he was a different person. He spoke openly about religion, but never on air. Same with Mr. Rogers. What's his real name?
Fred Rogers.
He was openly like Fred Rogers. He very devout Christian. Never spoke about religious beliefs on the show.
Yeah, there was
And
there was a
that's kind of
story that
classy.
somebody was talking something, and somebody came up to Mr. Rogers and said, "You need to go over there and school them on the Bible." And Mr. Rogers went over there and he talked with the guy. Never mentioned the Bible. So it was, yeah, there was
It's
no
classy.
schooling anybody on the Bible. It was, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Fred Rogers. Nice to meet you." So wonderful man. If there's a heaven, Fred Rogers is in it.
It's less confrontational that way. I was an Uber driver for 3 years, and it always starts off, do you do this full time? And it eventually gets on to someone will bring up religion. Well, I live in the deep South. I mean, I'm Texas. So, I mean, religion, or what church do you go to? I mean, religion gets pushed in there, whether they know it or not. It comes up all the time. And what denomination? I don't have a. What religion are you? And instead of saying I'm an atheist, I will just say I don't have a religion, which in my mind basically is the same thing. I'm not being sneaky. I just say I don't have a religion. Or if if Atheist Edge comes up, I try not to say the name of it, and I'll just say I got a YouTube show, 11,000, across 4 platforms, 11,000 followers, and what is it? Oh, it's like it's theology. We just sit around and argue about religion for 3 hours, and then we shake hands, and that's all I say about it. I try to avoid, because as soon as you bring out the A word, it immediately can make people hostile. And why do that if you don't have to?
Yeah. And in a lot of situations too, it sets up a straw man. Oh, you're an atheist. Well, you believe what Richard Dawkins says, or what? And it's like, well, no, not necessarily.
Yep, that's true. And
so then
we might believe a lot of what Richard Dawkins says, but we're not acolytes of him. We don't hang on to his every last breath. And there's plenty he believes that I don't. The way he went after Islam was the wrong move. I'm anti-Islam as an ideology, but the way he went after Islam back in 2000, was it 12? The Dear Muslima? Very, very the wrong move, man. He could have went about it a million different ways. But yeah.
Well, sometimes you got to give older folks a break too. I mean, sometimes they.
Nope.
You don't. Something slips.
Your age is a number. Nope. That's a cop out, Dave. You could be 17, 37, or 77.
Yeah. Well, if they correct themselves. Yeah. If they correct themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. With the refusal not to correct yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no that teach an old dog new tricks thing. That's bogus. Because we are all capable. You're responsible for your actions 24/7. And if you're wrong, it doesn't matter what age you are when you're wrong. And if you actually, when a light bulb goes off and you have the humility to say, I was wrong all this time, like me on mindfulness meditation about 2 or 3 years ago, prior to 2 or 3 years ago, I used to mock, I used to do episodes on it on my show, mocking it, making fun of it, pointing out that it's useless, it's garbage, mindfulness meditation. Mm-hmm. And in the last 3 years, I've had to humble myself and admit that there are plenty of health and mental benefits to doing it.
You got mindful, did you? Out in nature and the peace and quiet.
Yeah, I'm not like a huge proponent of it, but I think there's something to it, and I'm still seeking it out. Yeah, I'm not anti-meditation anymore. I used to think it was woo-woo hocus.
Well, that's when they bring up that prayer,
and how many people
stress and all these kind of things, and I always point out, well, so does meditation. So if that's good for you, then it's good for you. So sit down and relax, and whatever works for you that is going to bring your stress levels down, that's all good by me.
But here now you just touched on something. Even if prayer doesn't work and you try to just go through the motions just to get your blood pressure down, for instance. So let's say you used to be religious and you know how to go through the action motions, and you pray as a non-believer just to get the health benefits out of it, which arguably there's probably some, it's probably, like you said, it's probably the same as meditation. You probably get some health and mental benefits out of just the act of praying. But by doing that, are you being honest with yourself? And that goes to would you rather believe a comfortable falsehood or believe a uncomfortable truth?
Mm-hmm.
And most atheists, fellow atheists hate when I bring this up, but our suicide rate is through the roof comparative to believers. There's a lot of downside to being an atheist.
Yeah.
But I would, any day of the week, I would take an uncomfortable truth any day.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And I agree with you that, the older I get, I've changed my mind on things. So but I've also learned too, that you got to be man enough to apologize when you're wrong, and you've got to correct it, So if
what have you been wrong
stupid,
on?
What have I been wrong on, or what have I changed my mind on?
Both. I guess that's the same question, isn't it?
Well, I've been wrong. Yeah. I've been wrong on a lot of things.
What have you changed your mind on and admitted you were wrong?
The big thing I changed my mind on was death penalty.
Let me guess. You were once way for it, and now you're totally against it. Yeah.
Yes. Because I decided my argument is murder always wrong?
Yeah.
So
I've always been against it. If
it's always wrong, then it's always wrong. So I said, well, that's kind of like one of those logical arguments you're kind of stuck in, right? And so I thought about it, and I'm like, well, if it's wrong, it's wrong. So I changed my mind on
it. Well, two things. If you had one of your offspring were something violent, horrific at the hands of somebody else, you think that would instantly change your mind? I always think about that too. Well, that's an extreme example. Yeah.
You're always going to have emotions, come into it.
Exactly.
But that's why we don't lynch people. That's why we have everybody sits down in a courtroom in a calm setting, and you get the facts straight. And if they're guilty, they're guilty. And if they're not guilty, they're not guilty. So.
Good point. I've always been against the death penalty. I want to do everything in my power to increase well-being and decrease suffering, to quote Sam Harris. And that's how he defines subjective morality. But and you can't just increase well-being. You all have to simultaneously decrease suffering. You can't do one and not the other for this ideology to work. And that would include, and that's why I've been a vegetarian for 10 years too. Because even though eating a cow is not technically murder, so I'm not with the extremists, the PETA people. They consider it's not murder. Legally, it is not murder. That is the unlawful killing of a human being. So it's not murder. Meat is not murder. And I'm not going to badmouth anyone that wants to continue eating a big, juicy steak, because my next door neighbor starts grilling out and that smells good. I still love that smell. There's nothing wrong with that either. I just choose. I'm responsible for too many deaths in my life, in combat. And just 10 years ago, something clicked. And I said, I'm a hypocrite. And not that if I were still active duty, that I feel those are justified. Those were bad people, need to go away. So it doesn't go against my increasing overall world well-being and decreasing our suffering. I think that helped it. But I just lost my taste for killing. And then it started including animals. And then before I know it, I'm a vegetarian. It's all about suffering too.
I've gone to reducing my portions because I heard a lot of, information about we have too large of a portion of meat, and then you put that little tiny sprinkle of maybe a little veggie on the side, call it a piece of parsley, and we call that a dinner. And that, and then I said, yeah, it makes sense. The meat was more the side, and then you had, all your other stuff on the plate to go with it. And I was like, it kind of makes sense. And then
that's a good start.
I figured if I cut back, then if everybody cuts back a little bit, then that's, a overall gain, you know what I mean? So that's where I've been on it right now.
So many people take it to the extreme, and then they want to lump me into that group. Like, oh, like you see the memes on social media, like vegans and vegetarians. You know, there's a negative, overall negative, and it's because of maybe most of them, a substantial percentage of us are extremists. And when you try to get your dog, my dog's vegan now. No, he is not. You're killing your dog. You're killing your cat. They are obligate carnivores. You can't
That's
do
right.
that.
Yeah.
Homo
Right.
sapiens are not obligate carnivores. I haven't touched meat. No meat has entered this mouth in 10 years. And here I am. And I'm still 40 pounds overweight. So it's not for health reasons either. It's totally moral.
Cosmic Skeptic has talked about it a lot, going vegan and all the moral issues behind it and everything. So yeah, if you're interested in any of that, Cosmic Skeptic's got great stuff on that.
And Dan, I forget. See, I've been out of the atheist loop so long. Dan, he used to be with the. I don't know if he's still in the ACA. Oh, he wasn't a vegetarian. He just went on a really cool diet. I had him on the show once. What's his something? Dan. His show. Someone in the comments section.
You'll think of it. You'll think of it.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of, and going through all the different countries and everything, you know, how are their diets in all the other countries? Are they more, like I said, are there more vegetables and less meat? You know, how do you see how people are eating around the world?
It's country to country. A lot of it is what you can get, what's available. We are so spoiled here in the States. Like you can walk down the street and get a big bunch of fresh bananas. You know how rare that is on this planet to just be able to go buy a big bunch of bananas anytime you want, any season. So a lot of it is what they can get their hands on. So, I mean, first thing that comes to mind, like Ecuador, Peru, when I was down there, it was all, this was before I was vegetarian, when I was still active duty, but it was all rice and shrimp and rice, big pile of it though. I mean, they threw down when they ate. I don't know how they well, they're working all the time. They're not retired, sitting on their butt writing Dungeons and Dragons books. My only form of exercise now is twice a week I go play disc golf. That is the only exercise I get. But that 18 holes of golf or disc golf is 4.6 miles, and I do that twice a week. So that's what, 9 miles a week is not terrible, I guess.
No. Any moving is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the other thing, you've been through all these. Yeah, you've been through all these other countries too, and you know, the ones that have the death penalty and are very strict death penalty, and you know, they still have problems. You know, it doesn't make it all go away, right?
Well, I started out a criminal justice major as my freshman year, and one thing that stuck in my head was death penalty worldwide has and throughout history has never been a deterrent. And I remember she was an active police officer and had a master's degree in criminal justice and was our professor. And she was recounting something about like medieval England, how there were people. The crowd would be watching the people getting hanged on the gallows, and pickpocketing ramped up that day. And they were being hanged for pickpocketing. Like just a big crowd gathering.
Look up there.
I know. Zero deterrent. In fact, it was the opposite of a deterrent because everyone got tight together to watch the show, and then they got their pockets picked. So never a deterrent. That is not a good argument. Yeah. It all goes to my ethical. I just cut off. Oh, I just lost you there for a second.
You glitched for a second there. Okay, you're back.
Yeah. A person, everyone should be be afforded the opportunity to redeem themselves, and I don't mean that in a religious sense. I mean to correct their wrongs and to atone for them. And if you are not afforded that opportunity, it just feels it's wrong to me. And that's subjectively, that's me. That's not an objective statement. But,
right.
Even someone who did something horrible, a double murder, who knows their mind is the correction system, and I just glitched out again, didn't I? The correction system has never, even though they might claim that it has never been about rehabilitation. It's punishment only. There's no rehabilitation going through there. The recidivism is through the roof. So if anyone thinks prison is even partly for rehabilitation, it's not. But still, while you're in the slammer, each individual, we've all done things that we're not proud of, and to put them to death and not let them afford them the opportunity to try to become a better person. I don't know, that too, but mainly because just the suffering aspect of it. And we didn't even touch on this, which is a big one for most people. How many do we put to death, and then new DNA evidence gets turned up, and we just put the wrong person to death?
And then
I should have let off with that one.
And how do you murder the state for that? Right?
Well, yeah. And then it's just never ending.
The state murdered somebody, and isn't the punishment for that then to murder? And then it's like, well, hold on a minute. So yeah.
That becomes a Hatfields and McCoys. The old Hatfields and McCoys feud. It started off one guy said something wrong to this guy, and then it went back and forth, and then they're slaughtering each other.
Mm-hmm.
Never ending cycle.
And then they don't even remember what happened. Yeah.
Oh, the one thing I want to say about the country, as long as you brought up the countries, out of all of them, people often ask me, what's the most beautiful all around? What's the most beautiful places you've ever been? And number 3 on my list is the Austrian Alps. I can't even explain it. You're so high up. It's all white. You're so high up that the sky it's like a dark, almost a black. It's just beautiful up there. And it was something about it that was almost magical. The number 2 was the Panamanian rainforest. I love that. Almost got lost. A little family of, what are those? They look like raccoons. They got the long ring tail. Lemur. It had to have been lemurs. A whole family of them were up in the trees, and everywhere I went, they went from tree to tree, and they were just very curious. I mean, almost where I could reach out and touch them, and they would just followed me around through the forest. And number 1, people are often surprised at this, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Out of 43 countries, the most breathtaking place I've ever been is Chattanooga, Tennessee. I drove through there. I think they call it Lookout Mountain. The whole city's kind of built in a bowl, and it's just so green, and the trees are so huge. And this Lookout Mountain, it was something about the fog and the sunrise, and I just started weeping like a baby. Something about that place. Yeah. So of all the places, you come full circle all the way around the globe, and the prettiest place is in your own backyard, basically. That's
what I was going to say. Often you find it's right in your own backyard.
Yep.
So then let's get you up to what got you busy with your channel and your activism and your blogging and your book club. And was it retirement or?
No, I was still active duty when I started no, I wasn't. I had just retired, and I was looking for something to do. I never put 2 and 2 together. That had probably a lot to do with it. Just staying, what's the next thing I'm going to do? But it just so happened, I was still active duty, still stationed in Germany. We were coming over. That was my final duty station. And over there, like I said, I've been an atheist my whole life, but it's been like my brother. Most of my life, I've been an atheist like my brother. And you know what atheist is? Mm-hmm. Just like, yeah, I don't believe in God. That's all nonsense. Okay. Anyway, you just don't think about it much. Of course, it's nonsense. I'm not going to think about it too hard. But then 2 things happened. A lot of legislation started being passed that was religious based. And I got my hands on Christopher Hitchens' book, God Is Not Great. Whew, that did it for me, baby. And then I said, I don't think it was an overnight thing, but that led me on my activism kick. It was that book, God Is Not Great. And it's on YouTube. You can listen to it for free, the audio book, and it's in his voice. And if you haven't listened to it, what are you waiting for? In fact, get off this channel right now and go to listen to that audio book. It's good. It's great.
My wife bought me one.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. And then I forget his name. I don't know if he's still the president, the MAAF, Military Atheist and Freethinkers. He happened to be stationed. He was still active duty Army at the time. He's going to kill me if I don't remember his name. Anyway, he was stationed over there. And so I went and got in touch with him. That was the first organization, Military Atheist and Freethinkers. By the time I got back over here, started getting set up, got retired. There was a tiny little, it was only 5 people, my little, very local atheist group. We just meet at a coffee shop. Then I went to the big one farther north near Dallas, and then got started. And then it was just, and then the channel a couple of years later, 2017, I picked starting Atheist Edge at literally the worst possible, or the best, depending on how you look at it. It was March 30th, 31st, April 1st of 2017. If you guys remember the ad apocalypse, for those that have been around YouTube, your favorite channel had to have talked about it back then. But the ad apocalypse, it's when ad revenue just dropped off the face of the earth. Prior to April 1st, 2017, you could have 10,000 subs and make a decent living. After it, you needed 100,000 just to put some scratch together. And it ruined a lot of channels, a lot of atheists, a lot of Christian, a lot of channels dropped off the earth. And the old school YouTubers, that's when they started dropping off. Thunderfoot, Bionic Dance, all the ones that we grew up with, Non-Stamp Collector, they started dropping off. And I think a lot of those were because monetary reasons. But that's right when I started. And the whole new breed started then. The ones that really weren't doing it for the money. And if you look at a lot of channels, their start date is right around there. A lot of channels that are still going now.
Okay.
So it might have been a good thing. It's not good for if you wanted to make money off of it, though. So 2017, I did it for 4 years straight. I'm still a part owner of Atheist Edge until this June, and then Kaz has so we set it up to where the first year I'm an advisor and we're sharing the revenue, and I'm just helping him out. But I think the training wheels have been off for a while now. He doesn't need my help. So June 24th, it's all his, and he's going to take the ball and run.
Okay. Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to ask you about. So we got that cleared up. And yeah, Kaz does a great job, and he does a great job moderating. He's got a good temperament and everything. So yeah, I think he'll do a great job.
When he first took over, I was pushing him to do more of the stuff I was doing. The format I like, heavily scripted, recorded, heavily edited, packaged. Takes forever to do, though. Put that out. And that's not the route he wanted to go. And I kind of fought him on. I was like, man, come on, people really like this. But live shows, like we witnessed just a minute ago, they're not easy because there can be glitches. But all in all, they're way easier than it takes 6 hours to edit 30 minutes of raw footage if you do it that way, pre-recorded and scripted. It's more time consuming. So I'm like, I originally told Kaz live is cool, but it's kind of lazy, to be honest. But it's not really, because like you probably right in front of you, your list of questions that you toiled over for the last couple of days to ask me, right? So there's a lot to it. There's a lot to live also. So it opened my eyes. And the success he's having with the live shows and this debate format, which wasn't the way I wanted to go, but it's working. So keep going.
Right.
Yep.
Good for him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing too. Everybody's got their own little thing, and if that's what you like doing and that's your thing, then you should go with that. Don't try to be something you're not. So
there's out of the 750 videos I did, there's about 15 or 20 in a playlist on Atheist Edge called Host Favorites. Those are the ones I'm most proud of. So if anyone wants to see just the ones I'm the most proud of, just go to that playlist. It's only like 15 videos. It's the ones that took the longest. When I got Seth Andrews, the Thinking Atheist, to narrate one. I rewrote an entire Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale in an atheist format, and I had him narrate it. And it took 4 months for a 17-minute video. I mean, those kind. Yeah,
he's got a great voice for it.
Yep, absolutely. And getting
got
to
that
meet
awesome radio voice.
It's not good to have heroes. I highly advise to not have heroes, but there's a lot of people I admired coming up. And once the show started gaining traction and getting to meet those people, I'm friends with them now. And it's still like surreal. It doesn't even feel real.
And that's in my notes too, that you've met everybody from Aaron Ra to Frank Turek. So you've got
Aaron lives. Yeah, Aaron lives 2 minutes from me. We go to eat and stuff. It's crazy. And I guess geographically situated ideally, if I always say if atheism were Islam, Mecca, Saudi Arabia would be Dallas, Texas. I don't know why, but this is kind of the epicenter of the activism. Dallas or Austin or somewhere in between. Mm-hmm.
And like you said, sitting right squared in the middle of a red state. So,
and I get often asked, well, why is that? Why do you choose to live there? Isn't it just uncomfortable? Yes, it can be, but this is where the fight is, and I can see why activism's big in Texas, because this is where the fight is. If the atheist community of Austin was the atheist community of Portland or Seattle, there wouldn't be as much to do. They still could broadcast live, but they wouldn't get the close up in-person view of what's going on. The best places would be Mississippi or maybe not Georgia. It's turning purple, isn't it? Or Kansas. That'd be a good place to have an atheist, and your popularity would explode because you got the balls to do a YouTube show from Kansas. You're instantly going to get notoriety. But then, bad things could happen to you too. Worst that's ever happened to me here is I had an atheist T-shirt on I think it was in a Walmart. Someone spit on me. And then I had a Darwin, those Darwin fish, the little, not decals, but the little, like made of plastic with a fish with the feet, the Darwin, that was on my bumper. That got ripped off my bumper and then broken in half and then laid on my bumper and then a hate letter on my windshield. But other than that, if that's the worst that happens, come on.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, it takes all kinds, I guess. That's a shame.
Yeah. What else you got? I got some things too, Dave. So if you run out of questions.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to, we were talking about your, 23 commandments, and I think we could bring that up here.
Started out 10 commandments. And I guess I would always write down like Thomas Westbrook came to my house once. I offered it was around Christmas time, and this is when it was me and 3 other co-hosts doing Atheist Edge, and we had one room in my house totally set up studio, and we thought we were rolling. But he was in town. I said, "Hey, swing by on your way home," and so he swung by pretty much in the middle of the night and just did shows with us, recorded stuff with us, and then gave me so many tips. And this was early on in the channel. We had no one was watching us, and I just sat there taking tons of notes. And so a lot of these things, the big one he said that stuck in my head was content is king. You could have crap audio, crap video, crap system, disgusting mic, but if your content's good, that's the good start. People are going to tune in. And then the next big thing is audio. Audio is so much more important than video. So stuff like that. And for those of you that actually do editing, how to normalize your audio to where you don't blow people's eardrums out on the intro and stuff like that. How to keep the audio all normalized and smooth and all the way through. So things like that. So as I'm starting out, I wrote down notes, tips, mistakes that I made that maybe other channels shouldn't repeat. And that's how it started. And it became 10 commandments, and then now it's 23. But these are the important things. So if you're starting a new channel, or if you're just interested in a quality channel, what it should look like, this is your list. Were you going to hit some high points?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you.
There's one that we just talked about backstage.
If there's one,
what's the one we talked about backstage? And I said that is Yeah, there was one we talked about before we went live. Oh, were we talking about someone that did it? That wanted? Oh no, that was okay. Great case in point. Kaz had someone on the show. I'm not going to say who it was, but he had someone on his live show.
Number 10, I think. Number 10 we were talking about.
All right, let me say this one. Kaz had someone on the show pretty recently, and it was live, and it's on it's on his playlist now. You can go to Atheist Edge and watch it. The person said, "Listen, for whatever reason, it could be any reason. I don't like how I came across. I don't think my arguments were good enough. I've got a big job interview coming up. Well, you should have thought about that before you came on an atheist show. You know, I mean." And what's the odds of your new employer actually watching this show out of all the thousands of YouTube channels? For whatever reason, you invest the time, the energy to get them on the show and put together a good show. Don't come to me after the show, and especially scripted, pre-recorded like I was doing. Oh, so which one is it? It's on here. I can't find it right off the bat, but don't come on my show, talk with me for 2 hours, and then let me spend the next 6 hours editing the first 30 minutes of raw footage and getting that out the door, and then come to me and say, I want to pull the plug. Can you please pull down the video? That no, I cannot. And you consented to being on this show when we came on. You don't have a legal leg to stand on, and I don't want to be a jerk about it, but that's wrong. So that's one of them. What did you say, number 10? Oh, that was it.
That's 14. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you say about it first? I forget.
Oh, I said we were talking about number 10.
Yeah, number 10. Attack the ideas, not the person.
Not the person.
But how did that come up? I forget.
We were talking about people that used to be believers or used to be YEC. Or used to be a different political party, or used to have different views on LGBTQ or whatever it is. That, yeah, but tomorrow they could be, a 180 on these things, and it shouldn't be a personal thing. It's the ideas that we should be going after, because if you're going to be that way, then okay, they take they change their view on death penalty or whatever it is, but then they're going to remember you were calling them a dummy for thinking, for supporting the death penalty, when it should have been, hey, here's some reasons, why I don't support the death penalty, and what are the reasons that you support the death penalty. And then when you talk it out, weigh it out, rather than, just getting into calling each other names. And I always say, hey, you can go on Twitter and call each other names. That's easy.
James Apperson, I'm writing a note to myself right now. I'm going to put a link to the list in a comment on this show after the show.
That will be in the description. I have that.
You already have it. That's right. It's already in, but it's not in there yet because we started.
It's not in there yet because we had to restart the stream. But I will get everything copied over onto this one, and it'll all be in the description, including that. Scroll
down a little. They start getting you can see the evolution of my list, because it all started out very highbrow, but then towards the end it's like, don't tell me to educate myself. If you don't want to personally educate me, telling someone to educate yourself. That's just a pointless attack. If you want to educate me, explain it to me. We're here talking right now. Go ahead, educate me, enlighten me, or you can't do it. Another one is, I'd love to see you in a debate with Frank Turek, which I have twice already. But that blows their mind when Sean McDowell, yeah, we're friends. Oh, really? So when a Christian says you should debate a real apologist, yeah, I've sat down with Frank Turek twice. What else? And when someone says you should get in a debate with this guy, he'd blow your socks off. That is basically saying, I lack the intellect to go toe to toe with you. So you need to talk to this other guy to be my night proxy. No, you don't even open your mouth unless you have something you want to tell me to my face. But you can tell how this list got a little bit angry towards the end. And then at some point in the 4 years of doing the show, Yeah, it went. The pendulum swung back the other way. Towards the last year of Atheist Edge, I became totally non-confrontational, no hostility. I became, in fact, I became the show that Christians would flock to come to. Mine and a few others, but out of all the atheist shows out there, mine was the most welcoming for believers at one point, which I think I like better. Oh, is Esther in here? Someone just said. She sure is. We were talking about you before the show started. Yes.
Yeah,
You're right. She did. Yep. I was talking about, what were we talking? Yeah, we're talking about, people that start off just like super fans jumping around to everyone else's channel and talking in the live chat. And there's so many of them. And just like you, I think that's how you started. Just being kind of a super fan and involved in atheist YouTubing without having a channel of your own, and then all of a sudden saying, you know what, I'm going to pull the trigger. I'm going to make my own and try my luck at it. I think that's how Esther started too, and a whole bunch of others.
And hello, everybody in the chat. Good to see everybody.
I'm talking too much. I told you I would.
No, hey, no problem. That's why I had you on.
This is only the 5th time I've been invited to a channel since I quit Atheist Edge, and which kind of surprises me. One of them was Matt Delaney, so that was pretty cool. But I thought I would. It's just that there's so many atheist personalities out there. Man, when you quit, they forget about you. They forget about you, which isn't a bad thing. I didn't do it for the notoriety, but still, I thought I would get invited to more shows than 5 in the last year.
Well, you're here, and this is the most important channel at the moment because we have Jim Hall here talking with us about all his experiences.
Well, you should get Kaz on too eventually.
Yeah, I'd like.
And one of my co-hosts. She's super busy. Courtney, if you go back and look at some of the older Atheist Edge, Courtney was one of my co-hosts, and she's brilliant. But she's super busy. But you'd be another. And if anything psychology, and how it relates to atheists and atheist activism, she's. Oh, sorry.
That sounds like a big dog. 3
big ones. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah. So then let's get up to your book. What you were kind of saying, all these things and everything kind of bugging you, and I think that's what you kind of put together into your book. Mm-hmm. Most people believe in God. Can they all be wrong? And I'll have links, in the description too for all his books and everything too. It's all like I say, we had a little technical error, but it'll all be in there. So is that kind of what got you to just put it together in a book and say, here's what I've been repeating over and over?
Let's go backwards. I've written 4 books, but let's go backwards. The last 2 that I wrote, the last one, I just got my own copies yesterday. But the last 2 they're not even books. They're like magazine. They're thin, very thin, 40 pages or so. But there's a whole big, okay. How can I make this a short story? If you're in the tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons, but there's many others, Pathfinder, there's all different types, right? The big craze right now is solo role-playing, and it started during the pandemic where we couldn't get people together for a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. So a lot of these rule sets came out for play on your own, which sounds counterintuitive. Like, how could you even do that? How could you game master and be a player? But there's ways, and it's awesome. And I had some big ideas how I wanted a rule set to go, and no one was doing it just like I wanted to. So I made a rule set, and the 4th book was a companion book. It's just a book of tables and charts to go with the rule set. So those were the books 3 and 4, but you'll link those too. And so the second book is it's like a bathroom reader. You could start. It's 666 things your religious leaders never taught you. So just crazy, outrageous stuff about religion and religious people and religious ideas that you may or may not know. Some of them are pretty obscure, but you can that's why you put it on the toilet, because you can open it up to any page and just read a couple pages, which I thought was cool. So the first book you're talking about, And my apologies to you. I wanted to save this for the live show so I can formally apologize to you. Anyone that buys the book, because I'm too lazy to go back and put out a second edition. And there are 31 grammatical errors in it. And I'm sure you caught some, but I'm too lazy to go and edit them out.
I've been on the internet. I've been on the internet long enough that you just kind of skip right over those. It's not a big deal.
And why? The big reason was once I started atheist activism, it put me in contact with a lot more believers than I'm used to. Well, no. I was in contact with just as many believers, but now I'm talking about religion with them, which I didn't used to before. I've got like a dozen people I play disc golf with. We never talk about religion, and they're all born again Christians. We talk about disc golf or anything but. But now, at the time I was thinking about putting this book out, I'm in contact with people, and we're talking theology all the time. And I just got tired. That book is basically 25 answers to questions that a Christian might ask you. But it's the 25 questions that I got asked most often, and I got tired of giving my answer. So the only reason I wrote that book is to get it out of my head. And then when they say, if they start spouting Pascal's wager, wouldn't it just be better to believe in God? I mean, it's just, the retired rote stuff you always hear. Oh, that's chapter 16. Here you go. Here's a copy of my book. I don't even have to open my mouth. That's why I wrote the book. Let them, and each chapter is 4 or 5 pages long. They can peruse it while you're finishing your salad. And then when they're done, and they're like, oh, they'll either say, oh, I get it. I don't have any follow-up questions. Or now we can start a conversation.
Yeah, I read through it in a couple hours. It's not a long book, and it's got a lot of, like you said, a lot of the things you've heard. Most of us have heard, and maybe you haven't heard some of them, and it helps fill in the blanks.
Am I right though? It's mostly the same tired old questions you get asked a million times. So,
oh yeah,
and you probably got like Esther's answers to those questions are going to be totally different than mine, but there's going to be a lot of overlap. Your answers to the questions might be a lot of overlap, but some things you're going to put some of your own personal twist on it. But it's a good start if you want to buy the book and it's a handbook. Keep it in your glove compartment. If anyone that you said just a second, oh yeah, chapter 3. I don't necessarily agree with everything Jim's saying in this, but this will put you on the start.
Well, I'll mention some of my notes that I made going through. Well, the first one is R.I.P. John Pendleton. I think we all miss John Pendleton. You were talking about young Earth creationism.
Oh yeah.
And John Pendleton's ill-fitting lab coat.
Did he die?
He just passed away like last summer or some. Logic had a thing. Logic covered him a lot, and he had a post that he had passed away. Yeah.
Logic is still around.
Oh yeah.
See, so people like Bionic Dance was one of the first.
Thunderfoot got his million subscribers from YouTube plaque. He had a video about that. And
are you kidding?
Dusty's still around.
Dusty went
speaking
a
of
different route.
Speaking of the heartland, yeah, he's stuck in the middle of Mississippi. So,
Mississippi, that's it. Yeah, he just got something on his Twitter banned today. His Twitter banner because it was a cartoon of someone showing a severed head, which not a good argument, Dusty. That's it.
He's got a lot of anime and stuff.
Yeah, that's not a good hill to die on. If you want to bitch about free speech and stuff, that's not a good hill to die on. That don't pick that one. But yeah, the first channels I started listening to among them was Bionic Dance, and I watched everything she ever put out. And now we're friends. It's crazy how things come together. But then I thought she just stopped making videos. And I mentioned something on a live show. I was like, too bad she doesn't make videos anymore. What are you talking about, Jim? She just put out one yesterday. Sometimes YouTube will just erase your subscription on people and the notifications. And you got to go back and check to see if something you used to like is still on your list.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. what were you saying? Oh, John Pendleton. Yeah, he was in that case. There's so many more like him now. No one misses him.
Well, he was trying to get he was putting together a thing where they were going to trap a pterodactyl down in Mexico. And Logic even said, because he had a GoFundMe for it, and it looked like the only money in it was what John put in it to get it started, and it never really went anywhere. And Logic said, look, I'll fund it if I can come with you to Mexico and, film it and everything with you catching a pterodactyl and everything, and he up and died. So I guess we won't have
if
a
he goes
pterodactyl.
How hot and because he wouldn't show his face, how hot and sweaty would it be for him to wear that ski mask and those 3D glasses the whole time? That'd be funny.
Yeah.
Who's the one that the two YouTubers that are they married or they're dating? It wasn't Logic, was it? It was not Sargon of Akkad. And the Shoe on Head, she had a channel, and then I forget two of them. There was two YouTubers that met each other. They were huge in their own right, but then they got together.
Well, I know Sir Sick and his missus both have their own channels.
Oh, right. And here recently, that Tang group that they just did a big conference. Was it last year? Gosh, see, time goes by quick. There's two big YouTubers that got together too. That's always fun to see.
And Potholer 54, he's still around.
No, really?
Oh yeah.
See, I gotta write that down. One of my favorite videos.
He still puts out stuff, and he still does it all free. He's never monetized anything.
It's crazy. One of in my top 10 favorite videos is one from him. And good luck trying to find it because I can't think of the title. But I'm going to give you a quick synopsis because it's so good. It's this guy finds a genie lamp. It gets his first two wishes. His third one was like, I don't really need anything else. And I've been debating. My best friend and I, he's a young Earth creationist. He doesn't believe in evolution. His third wish is for his friend, for him to be able to convince his friend that evolution is true. And so all of a sudden he wakes up the next morning and he's in the jungle 65 million years ago with his friend, right? And T-Rex comes and eats both of them. But they wake up the next morning. So they can't die. They can't go insane from being alone. And there were, for some of the 65 million years that they are traveling on different continents and then they run back into each other. But they're the only two humans on the planet still. But they always end up finding each other. So the genie made it to where they can't go insane being alone all the time. And every time they get eaten or killed, they wake up the next day. So, and the guy finally comes to realize, I screwed up big time. And he wrote journals too. He wrote a letter. He wrote a diary entry every day. And the thickness of a piece of paper over 65 million years. How thick do you think his journal would be? If he wrote one page a day for 60, so it was miles long. Wow. His journal, it was miles long. So the long story short, they get to modern day, but they don't realize it's modern day. And they're on the beach and they see this thing out there. It's a big ship. And they bring a rowboat in and the guys, and they come and talk to him. Hey, so they didn't lose their language either. The genie made sure of that. So, hey, what are you guys doing? He said, yeah, we're waiting for modern. He goes, I think it might be modern times. You guys weren't even aware. He's like, yeah, well, we did. He explained why it all happened. And I was trying to explain to my friend that evolution is true, but it turns out he was right. Evolution isn't true because we never saw anything change in the whole 65 million years. And he's like, what are you talking about? What about the dinosaurs? He goes, yeah, dinosaurs are still here. Look up in the sky. And he's pointing at the seagulls. He's like, the dinosaurs never changed because it was so long. He never realized that it went from Tyrannosaurus Rex to a seagull over that much time. They didn't even realize they had changed. That was a long-winded explanation for a very good video, though. What were we talking about?
It's hard to fathom long periods of time. We take a life in little snippets, and that's the way we put everything together. It's just,
you were going through my book.
Yeah. Well, okay. And the next one was one of the
Esther, you're welcome,
odds in
honey.
winning the lottery.
Oh, Esther said I was the very first channel that listened to her and made her a moderator. And she's, that's so great to hear. You know what? Another thing, Thomas
Esther.
Westbrook taught me something. Another thing very important when he came over to help out. It was once you climb that ladder, don't forget about people at the bottom of the ladder and help them up the ladder. And what do you say? I guess it's a common saying, but at the time I had never really heard it before. I never really pieced it together. But a rising tide raises all the boats. So I never, once we hit 5,000, 8,000, whatever, I never disregarded an opportunity to, like a new channel, help them get a boost. Let's bring them up to, because the more the merrier. And compared to the Christian and the believer YouTube channels out there, we are a tiny minority. We need all we can get.
Definitely.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, the other one was you were kind of hitting on what the odds are and hitting the lottery and everything, and I pointed out, when you have a plane crash and you have one survivor, it's a miracle, but all the rest of the people on the airplane perished. And I said,
did I have it in the book, or did you add that?
They were a cushion. That's my note.
That's good. Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, the other people on the plane were just the cushion for the one to survive. That's kind of a morbid way to see a miracle.
I'm scheduled to speak at a church on April 16th, and I know one of the parishioners pretty well. He has said about, and he's got a MD in pathology, and he's got a PhD in theology. He's a smart cookie, especially the MD. Forget about the theology degree. I consider that toilet paper. But we just yesterday at IHOP, what were we talking about? What were you saying? Oh, about miracles. And this was the first time he had ever heard this. Sometimes you'll think you're repeating yourself, but sometimes you repeat yourself to someone that's never heard it before. And this was the first time he ever heard this. I said, as far as miracles go, he said some event that made him become a believer. I said, well, that was a miracle. Then you would classify that as if it's some extraordinary event, and you said you would classify that as a miracle. And he said, yes. Can you and I both agree that a miracle is by definition the least likely explanation for an event? Yes, he had to agree. So it's the least likely explanation. So if I thought of a half a dozen other explanations, that miracle is still the least likely. Yes. And I think he heard God audibly once when he was taking a shower, I think. And so I listed off 6 other possible explanations of how he could have experienced an auditory hallucination. And I don't try to win debates. If you go into a debate trying to win, you've already lost. We're just trying to share each other's ideas. But I could tell a light bulb went on somewhere in his head. Sometimes you can just tell, and you might not know it. And then 6-8 months later, maybe a year later, you get Atheist Edge gets an email, and I've got some, and they will bring a tear to your eye. How you started me on my journey, and now I asked my pastor things and he couldn't answer, and then thank you so much. And wow, that's never been my goal to change minds, but when it does happen, woo, it'll get you.
And I found too that if you'll ask questions, you'll have a better odds of engaging somebody rather than just going the route of just trying to be a jerk or a troll or whatever, just or name calling or whatever you want to call it. That if you have a genuine good question, that even if they don't address it away, it might stick in their head later, and 1 o'clock in the morning, they're laying in bed going, gee, that question's still bugging me in the back of my head,
Oh, that's in the book too. You read the book about the seed being planted and you didn't even know it was planted, and it germinates, and and then you don't talk to them in 6 months and they're a whole different person. That's great. It's weird.
And that's the thing too. If anybody that's heard anybody's conversion stories, they never happen just overnight. It was always a process of different things, and then it kind of built up together. So anybody thinking that you're just going to throw an argument out and they're going to say, oh, I don't believe anymore, that's just not going to happen. And if it does, they're probably not, they're probably pulling your leg or whatever. So,
Pragmatic Crystal in the comments. That is true. I mean, you sing better in the shower. For some reason, I think better in the shower. In fact, in 2017, I had a list of ideas for the name of my channel, and I came up with Atheist Edge while I was in a nice hot shower. So yeah, that is true. Good place to think. I guess it's also a good place for auditory hallucinations too, apparently.
I sing the best when the volume's real loud. I tell people,
I was a drill instructor. I was a Marine Corps drill instructor for 3, and no one believes me, but I could actually sing some REM or Creed. I sounded pretty good prior to that. But 3 years of blowing your throat out and permanent scar tissue from yelling, it's gone. If I tried to sing REM now, I'd have to first take it down an octave, and it wouldn't sound right. I can't sing the songs anymore. It's gone.
Well, that's one of the stories about Bob Ross, the painter. After being in the military and hearing all the yelling and yelling and yelling all the time, he just wanted to paint peaceful pictures and be quiet for a change.
I can relate. Yeah.
And then you have back to your book for a moment. You had your list in here that a lot of people have said through time, things that are not unique to the Bible. And I have a list of my own where I have a list of all the golden rule sayings through the time. And I was like, yep, I've got a list similar to that. So, yep.
The golden rule. How many Christians think that they came up with it, that their religion came? Oh, it's way older. Every major religion, even the older ones, Hinduism, everyone's got the golden rule.
Yep.
And what's the cause and effect there, though, Dave?
Confucius and it doesn't, the thinkers and stuff all repeated the golden rule too.
And that is not an indictment of evolution. It's evidence of it, at least societally, because like when I talk to a believer about morality and I tried to explain what subjective morality is. Morality conforms to your individual, and then you have to live in a group. You have to live with other people. So you, as a society, as a small group or a large or a country, have to agree on some things too, just to keep everything running smoothly. And it's pragmatic that way. I forgot where I was going with that. What were we saying? See, totally lost it. Anyway,
you were subjective and objective.
Yeah. But what were you saying in the book? Oh, the golden rule. See that
the golden rule. Yep.
Yeah. The golden rule it's not a bug. It's a feature. It's a necessity in society. A golden rule is what keeps people from hitting each other in the head with a club and dragging them back into their cave.
Yeah.
Societies would not function without the golden rule and rules like that. The Bible didn't need to put it in there. It was already a part of our makeup as Homo sapiens. We already, when Moses ran down the mountain with those tablets, there was nothing written on there that they didn't already know to do or not to do. Anyway.
And then you had the fine tuning, and my note on the fine tuning was fine tuning. Ugh. Every time I hear that one, it's like, ugh. It's like,
how do you approach
the universe? I say, okay. I just say, okay, if the universe was different, it would be different.
That's the weak anthropic principle. And that's really
what do you want to say? Well, the universe is as it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the weak anthropic principle in a nutshell. And really, when here's intellectual honesty. You won't hear a Christian ever do this, ever. You will never hear them do this. The best arguments for the other side is the fine-tuning argument and entanglement, quantum entanglement, in my mind. There's a few others, but those two are in my mind. And how many Christians bring up quantum entanglement as an evidence for their God? And they totally should. It pushes the idea back too much, and there's a lot of problems with it. And it doesn't even come close to reaching an acceptable criteria threshold for my believing in any God. But so that would be a good argument that you never hear Christians using. Quantum theory. How weird it gets at the subatomic scales, and the fine tuning. And I've said right to their face, fine tuning is a great argument. You should lead off with that one. Don't lead off with a guy lived in a fish for 3 days. Lead off with fine tuning. Then we could have then would be challenged.
Right.
And ask a Christian, what's our best argument? Tumbleweeds and crickets. They won't tell you.
It's an argument. Yeah, they're at least presenting an argument rather than just what we always joke about is look at the trees. And speaking of, I'm going to do a video with look at the trees. That's going to be upcoming next week. So.
Oh, great. I take that back. James Walker, the founder of Watchman Fellowship. He's a doctor in apologetics. Great friend of mine. He once answered Intellectually Honest when I asked him, what's the atheist's best argument? He said, problem of evil, problem of suffering. And hats off to him. The problem of suffering. The whole Epicurean thing really is really hard for him to come to terms with.
You make this too easy because you keep hitting on the questions I had written down. So it's like, it's like we're perfectly in sync. I was going to ask you what some of your best and worst arguments are. So you've said some of the better ones. What do you think some of the worst ones you ever heard are?
It's funny because I haven't touched that book in probably years. I haven't even touched that. I have a whole stack of them and give them away to whoever people I meet, but I haven't really actually read through it in a long time. So it's funny how you can just regurgitate. And what's also funny is when I finished that first book, I ran it through Grammarly, and it does a plagiarism checker, and it was 31% plagiarized. And I promise I didn't copy and paste anything. And that goes to show even us, we have to be able to admit that we're capable of being influenced verbatim enough to where Grammarly caught it as plagiarism, where I'm pretty much word for word spouting Christopher Hitchens or Sam Harris and didn't even realize it.
Well, good words are good words. It doesn't hurt to repeat good words. Right. So what's a really terrible argument somebody tried to engage with you? Any memorable ones that just were?
I'm trying to go off just recent because I got a lot of Christian friends, and the subject does come up. Oh,
ones that they should.
I'm not going to say his name.
They should just not use anymore, please. Some of those moldy oldies.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking very recently, as in, what is today? Today's, being retired, you forget what today's Thursday. So this was
Thursday
yesterday. Yesterday. I'm not going to say the guy's name, but I was playing disc golf with two guys, and one of them, young dude, early 30s, got a bachelor's degree in geology, works at the water treatment plant. He's got a bachelor's degree in geology not from a Bible college, from an actual legitimate college, right? He still believes Noah's Ark. So I kind of rib him every once in a while. I was like, oh, he was talking about, I don't know how Grand Canyon came up. Oh, good, because it was flooding out on the disc golf course. And we were talking about, and I said, how much this creek, how long would it have to flow for it to be the depth of Grand Canyon? And I didn't even think in my head. I kind of was ribbing him, but and then we got started about that. And he thinks Noah's Ark, the whole flood story, is absolutely 100% true. This is a geologist that thinks this. And so, like I said, we don't touch on it much when we're playing disc golf, but a couple back and forths. And I mean, what would you say, especially geologists? First off, here's when we first started talking about, not yesterday, but when it first came up that I learned that he still believes in the flood story. My very first question, tell me if this is maybe something you would lead off with. My very first question to him was, you made it through 4 years undergrad in physical science? Yes. Non-religious school? Yes. How many times did your professors fail you? Did you openly let people know that you were a YEC? Yes. How much pushback did you get from your professors? That was my first question. See, in my mind, that's a good way to lead off because it's almost kind of street epistemology because it forces him to, go through it in his head. And it's not real confrontational. I just said, how hard was it for you to get through school, believing what you do? And so I let him talk. And just the process of him talking about it made him think. It seemed like he didn't even really realize, there was way more pushback than my fellow classmates had.
I was going to ask
how would you have led
does it
off?
bother you more when it's somebody that has a degree versus a lay person that's repeating that stuff?
Absolutely. Wouldn't you? It absolutely. Nothing
It does.
Nothing.
Why did you bother going to school if you weren't going to learn it?
I started Stoicism. I started practicing Stoicism about 6 or 8 months ago. So when you ask, how does it get under your skin? No. Stoicism, I'm just beginning to learn what Stoicism is. I just read Marcus Aurelius's Meditations and studying some Seneca and some Zeno. But so I'm just starting. But what I know now, something like that might have gotten under my skin maybe when I started Atheist Edge, but no, it doesn't anymore. It doesn't. I accept that that's what it is. And then if we can talk about it, I highly recommend. When someone says, it changed my life. Well, you just stopped smoking yesterday. How did it already change your life? You don't know if it changed your life for another year. So a year from now, I'm going to ask you, and if it changed your life, and then you can tell me. So I can't say Stoicism has changed my life. I don't know yet, but it feels to be some huge benefits in my life. And I don't want to influence anyone that has an atheist channel to quit, but it's been almost a year since I've been actively doing the channel after I passed it on to Kaz. It's been a huge weight off my chest. Not to say this might be a sabbatical. I might get back into it some form or fashion. Maybe not the channel, maybe something else. But it's been very stress relieving, very cathartic. And I forgot where I was going with that. What did you say? Oh, yeah, when it gets under your skin, if it gets under your skin.
Yeah, everybody needs a vacation, so you just got to remember, even if it's doing a channel or whatever, don't forget. Yeah, it's okay to tell everybody, hey, I'm going on vacation. I'll catch you back whatever day, and go outside, do whatever you want to do, go swimming and fishing, and it's all good.
I was I noticed here recently. It just dawned on me. I've got a very obsessive personality. People can probably tell. People that watch Atheist Edge and watch the old shows, they can probably tell. I get laser focused on something, and I'm like a pit bull. I just don't let go, and that's really all I think about. It's in 4-year spurts. I don't know why, but it goes through 4. I was a competitive chess player for almost 4 years to the month. Atheist Edge, 4 years to the month. Competitive fighting, a little under 4 years, but I had to go. I was transferred. World of Warcraft. I was addicted to World of Warcraft for exactly 4 years, and I realized it was sucking all my free time. Something switches in my head at the 4-year mark, and now it's disc golf. I play it twice a week. All I think about is disc golf channel. I'm thinking about the next disc I want to buy. I think about new throwing mechanics. That's really all I'm thinking about. It's crazy how it works.
I'm itching to uncover my pond. I've got a garden pond, and I cover it in the winter. So I'm counting
what do you
days
have in there?
About a week here, and I've just got goldfish.
I've got a mixture of koi and goldfish, but we're in the process. We had 17 in there. I don't know how many we've given. There's a guy that set up a pond, and he really knows what he's doing. We've been slowly giving him. I think we still have at least 10 out there, maybe close to it. But we're trying to get rid of ours.
Yeah, I've got at least 50 goldfish in my pond.
50.
How
long have you had them?
And they've been reproducing and stuff. So
mine stopped spawning 2 years ago. I haven't had a baby in 2 years, so I don't know what happened. Now my wife says one out there is pregnant. We'll see, but I don't know if it's one of the koi or the gold. We got some beautiful, rare butterfly koi, some beautiful ones. And they survive there's some out there that are at least 6-7 years old, and one's like that big, almost 2 feet long, big old guy.
Yeah, there's
Oh, Carrie says Dave's Pond is gorgeous. So you've already shown it on the channel.
oh yeah, people that know me, I've shared it around here and there.
Awesome. Mine's just a big 4-foot hole in the ground, basically. It's 7 foot long, 4 feet deep. Okay, here I'm going to admit something. Confession time. My life's an open book. Originally, it was me trying to
There we
dig
go.
an underground.
There's my fish.
Oh, my God. How do you keep... Is this recent? Because springtime is real bad for algae. How do you keep it so clear?
So I've got a big filter I built myself that sits behind the waterfall, and I've got all kind of different grades.
How often do you have to clean out the filters? In the springtime, it's pretty much every day for me.
In the springtime, it's every day because it's all gum. Yeah, it's all there's. I've got a bunch of string algae going right now and everything.
Check it out, Amazon, $15, big roll of filter.
Yep.
These are $15 each. I give 2 or 3 of these, and when I pull out the old gunky one, put this in, and then I spray down because the tap water's got all the chlorine in it. You want it to sit, and you don't want to put the same filter in with all that chlorine water.
And then I got if anybody wants to go and check it out, awesome. This is the whole build, and it goes through 2 seasons, and this will be my 3rd season. So yeah, I had a smaller one basically. This end here is about 4 foot, and then it steps to about 2.5 foot, and then it ends up about 18 inches over here. So it's got.
I like the no fishing sign. That's
3
brilliant.
levels. Yeah, that's
now those spider webs that are going across. You keep those, right?
Oh, I love my spiders.
Anytime I get spider webs, anytime you get spider webs across the top of the pond, we leave them because that attracts all the insects, and the ones that don't make it in the web, the fish will have a nice buffet.
And I've got lots of dragonfly nymphs in there too, so they're pretty neat.
Great.
Yeah, that's it there. That's the big shot.
There's a special food. It's keep their
when the government
vibrant.
When the government sent us all a check and told us to stay home and spend the money, I ordered a liner and I expanded. So I did my duty. I stayed home and I spent the check.
That's awesome. All right, so I'm gonna admit something. Originally, mine wasn't a koi pond. I got it almost 5 feet deep, and I gave up. I even bought a jackhammer on Amazon. I was gonna make a underground man cave out in the backyard, and maybe being 50 years old now, even with a jackhammer, but there's some really hard bedrock, and it's not too far down, and it got way rough. But once we give all the fish away and we just have a big hole in the yard again, I'm thinking about maybe giving it another try.
Well, if you notice, mine's raised a little bit, so there wasn't as much digging as you think. See, I see the edge here. I gave it an infinity pool look. So wherever you are in the yard, or if you're in the kitchen, you can always see it. Where before it was like down in the ground. So yeah, it's kind of got the infinity pool look. So
look at that one. Look at that photo. Is that an underwater camera? How'd you get that shot of them underwater?
I've got a little underwater camera. Yep, that's a lot of fun too.
Crazy. You would laugh at mine. It is not even near that pretty. And it's got all the tubes from all my pumps. I got 3 pumps, and all the tubes are up above ground.
I had a plastic tub at one time with a turtle in it. It was just a square black plastic tub, and I stuck it in the middle of the garden, and it had a little baby turtle in it. And we ended up having the turtle for like about 20 years till it passed away.
Wow.
And she's still buried there by the pond, so she's forever with the pond there.
Oh.
But yeah, I get, cool. I can talk pond, just so I'm sure, and like you talk golf and everything. And,
well, if you've got tips about how to get rid of algae, I have to constantly change that
UV.
filter. That pretty much helps. We've got one of my pumps has a UV light, but it burned out, and I need just to replace the UV light in that one pump. So that really does work.
It absolutely works. Nothing else works. I've tried everything. Get a UV.
Yeah. Mine burned out like a year ago. I never replaced it.
The bigger your pond, the more wattage you need, or you have to go to a dual system or whatever. But
mine is 700 gallons.
That's how it looks right now. This is how my pond looks right now. It's all covered.
Wow. 700 gallons. I don't know how big of a light, but the one I have is probably not near good enough.
Mine's about 1,600.
Whoa! You can't even tell from that photo. Goodly.
And again, I did it all myself. I didn't pay anybody. That's me, myself, and I, and my sons and my wife helped me. Like put the liner in and everything, because it's not a one-man job. But
and it's not a cheap hobby.
Nope.
It is not.
But
cheap.
once you get everything set, though, you're good to go. Once you get a good system going and everything, you're good to go. It's not bad. It's just all the initial.
Same with disc golf. The cart was $350. The discs are $20 each, and I've got hundreds. And I don't need hundreds. I only need 23. So I end up, this one's got beat up a little. I want a nice fresh one. And I end up giving away my old ones. But once you get the 23 discs and a cart or a backpack, you really don't need anything else, because disc golf courses are free to play on, which is great. And if you play regular ball golf, average green fee in Texas is $61. So that's anytime I lose a disc or a friend loses a disc and they start getting heartbroken over it. Listen, man, if we were out here on a regular golf course, you could lose 3 of those and it would still be cheaper than playing regular golf. 3 of those every time we play. Don't worry about it.
I miss. We used to have around here what they called par 3s, and they were just tiny little golf courses stuck in here and there. And it was cheap
ball golf
to play. What's that?
Was it regular like ball golf?
Yeah, regular golf, but it was it was all par 3s. It was all small. They would stick them in here and there, and it was cheap to play. But they're almost all gone. You have to.
Oh yeah.
You have to go to the big links anymore, and it's like,
hey, Randy,
I
in
miss
the
those.
comments. I haven't seen Randy in forever.
Oh yeah, I talked with Randy, Carol.
It's the same old crew that comes from
Harry.
channel to channel. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Randy, I think, lives near me. I know I've said that before. He lives somewhere around here. I think I've met him in real life. See, I forget names and faces. No one believes me because it's not diagnosed, but I think I have I think it's called prosopagnosia, and Johnny Depp has it too, where I have to meet someone face to face at least 6 times before I burn the name with a face and I know who you are. So people come up to me at like atheist conventions. Hey man, good to see you again. Yeah, you too. I don't know who you are.
I was a tech for a lot of years, and I had my, it said Dave right on my shirt, So I'd go into these factories, and you're walking around, everybody's, hey Dave, hey Dave, hey Dave, and it's like, it's because my name's on my shirt, And yeah, I'm sorry, but your name's not on your shirt, and I just don't remember. Sorry.
That's how I met Anthony Medabosco. First time I ever met him. It was at some event, and I was in line for just a tie. When I first started out, I got so starstruck. I was like a little fangirl. Oh, it was bad. And then I was going to ask you. Over time, he was just like, "What's up, Anthony?" But I was in line to meet him, and when I walked up, we all had name badges badges on from the event, and I forgot. And he's like, "Hey, Jim, how you doing?" And I just sat there dumbfounded. He's like, "It's on your shirt." I felt like such an ass.
Yeah, I was going to make a note of some of the people that you've met, and the list just got so long. It's like, yeah, and it would just be unfair.
It would be easier for you to name someone, and it would be easier for you to name someone. I'll tell you if I haven't met them.
Right.
The ones that stick out in my mind. This is on the other side of the fence, but Sean McDowell and Frank Turek, that was kind of big, and Sasha Sagan back on our side of the fence. And of course, the unholy trinity. They live all within quick drive of me. Dillahunty to my south, Aaron's right 20 minutes away, and then Seth is just north of me.
I've seen you a lot of pictures with you all together. Yeah,
and Anthony just down in San Antonio. That's 3 hours. Yeah, it's crazy. Just how if you're going to start a YouTube channel, if you can move to Texas, that would be step one. You're in Ohio, or where are you? In the Midwest?
Yep. Yeah, I'm in Ohio.
Yeah. Yeah. So there is that's blowing up. It's the Jesus mythicist. Oh, that's up in Michigan. That's too far away. But there's the Tang thing that was in Indiana just a year or so ago. The Tang, Oz, and them. I forget who all was. It's a big. Hopefully they do it every year. But yeah, that whole would kind of blow up too. I was the only
I know
when I was a teenager. I went to it.
I keep hoping
was I breaking up?
they would just a little bit. I keep hoping they'll do a big thing maybe in Chicago or something. That'd be a little closer. They always have them in Texas, and it's on the other end of the country from me.
Yeah, the American Atheists, I think they had it in Chicago at least once. They're always in the South though. You have, of course, Austin. They did Arizona. But what was I gonna say? Oh, I forget now. Shoot.
Well, I've got a good one.
Oh, yeah, the better. That's it. Yeah,
I've got to ask you about you. You mentioned that your channel got demonetized once. What was it demonetized for?
It got a copyright claim once.
We've gotten
so lucky.
You got it. No, it was with an adult rating.
Ooh, this is a trivia question. You did some homework, man. I don't know, but I will tell you we never got any 3 copyright strikes and you're gone. Your channel's banned. We never got any. We got one copyright claim because I showed a clip of the Oprah Winfrey show. I was exposing psychic mediums, and it's 8 seconds long, and I didn't realize that was a little too long to do a clip, I guess. And the Oprah Winfrey show stole all the money from that one episode, which isn't anything. But let me try to think. Oh, one show got so shows get demonetized or under monetized. If you look,
one show got nailed, and they put an adult rating on it for what you were saying.
Let me try to remember. Oh, for the Oprah Winfrey show, was that the one?
I don't know. No. I don't know what channel this. Yeah, I don't know what video it was.
Oh, shoot.
You were.
There's one I'm pretty proud of it.
You were repeating.
Was it
Bible
live or pre-recorded? Was it live?
I don't remember.
Pre-recorded.
But you were repeating Bible verses, and YouTube slammed you with adult content label.
Was I quoting Ezekiel?
Some kind of a tag? Because you were.
If I was quoting Ezekiel and the prostitute that was talking about how big her lover's genitalia was, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
It's funny how you quote the Bible and you can get demonetized. That's funny. That is funny. No, but anyone that has a channel, you can go to a certain screen and you can see the list of all the shows, all the episodes you have on your channel. And if you got a green $sign, it means it's making money. If it's a yellow $sign, it means it's got limited for some reason. So you might get something. If it's a red $sign, that's when you're completely demonetized due to something like that. Or like one of my co-hosts, TJ, he and I got shit-faced and played chess for 6 hours for no reason. And we did it live. I think that got demonetized just because these sloppy drunks, what are you doing? So you will make shows that you're not proud of that you will want to take down later. But I don't ever take down a show because I didn't do well. Like you mentioned, I was on Modern Day Debate a few times. The very first time I was there, it's a formal debate about the Trinity. And so I simulcasted it on Atheist Edge too. And I won't take that. I got my ass handed to me. I got schooled by this guy. His moniker is General Han Solo. He's going to kill me for not remembering his Richard. I forget what his name was. Smart kid. And he claimed, see, if I had to do that debate all over again, I know now. He said there was 26 passages in the Bible that talk about the Trinity, which is, no, it's not. The Trinity was added later. It was an afterthought. And I had no academic leg to stand on when he quoted him. He caught me off guard. I thought there was only one. There's one obvious pseudepigraphal. entry in the Bible that says Jesus, God, Son, and Holy Ghost. And that one, everyone, even religious scholars agree that that was added later. That was pseudepigrapha. Pseudepigraphical. How do you say that? Pseudepigraphical? Fake, forged, fake. Added later. Yeah, just like the last, Mark 16, 9 through 20.
So Bart Ehrman talks
and it
a
ended,
lot about that stuff.
Yeah, you know how original gospel ended with the women seeing the empty tomb and then running away and not telling anybody. And then they added 16, 9 through 20 later, and that's all Jesus' nonsense when he comes back to life. That was all, stuff like that. But this was back when I really didn't know. And so General Han Solo totally schooled me, and I'm glad it's still up there. It shows a progression. It shows, and I was intellectually honest. That's why modern day debate is called that? It used to be called modern day hysteria. I'm the reason they changed the name, because I was the first atheist they had on their channel that was not combative and was amicable and was intellectually honest and actually said this. No atheist on that show had ever said this. Oh, you might be right, or you have a good point. You'd be surprised how their countenance will change if you just say either of those two words. You've got a point there. And so they changed it. Modern day hysteria used to be a poke at non-believers. So they changed it to modern day debate to make it less confrontational.
Isn't James a believer?
Oh yeah, big time. I just saw him up in Dallas just a couple months ago. They did a live debate in person. Kaz, that's the first time I ever met Kaz face to face. He was up there helping out the conference. Yeah, James Coons, great guy. I love him. B.S. Lewis says, disc golf, let me grab an IPA and a joint. You got that right, baby. Except, so when I first started playing disc golf in 1987, it was laid back, easy going, cool guy stoners. Everyone's helping each other. Hey, man, how you doing? Oh, what kind of disc you got? Now, I'm still going to play disc golf, but the entire culture, the entire sport has been overrun by born-agains. All you see out there is youth pastors with the faux hawk and trying to look hip, but they come off looking square.
What is it? They all have to have that same little hairstyle thing.
It's a faux hawk. They're trying to be. They'll even wear an earring and maybe some acid wash jeans or something, trying to look cool. But it's like 90s cool, not now cool, and they don't realize. But yeah, and church groups will empty their bus. Yeah, church groups will empty their bus and play disc golf. And 80% of the disc golf courses I play at around here are owned by a church. They're on church property. So if I want to play, I gotta put up with all that nonsense. But yeah, it used to be laid back stoners. It's all born again evangelicals now. But
but you don't care. You just want to play, right?
I'm great friends. It's a great way to bring us to the 6 or 8 guys that I play with. They're all very devout, and we just don't talk about it. It's not a big deal. And every once in a while, if someone new joins our crew, it's like, yeah, and then this is Gabriel, this is Kenneth, and here's Jim. He's our token atheist, and they chuckle about it, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. That was, again, you're rolling right along on my question. So
psychic,
that you can disagree and still play golf. You can disagree and still go to a concert. There's no reason. Everybody disagrees on some things.
I listen to NPR on the radio.
Bigger, obviously, but everybody disagrees on something. So
was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. I was listening to NPR on the radio, and I knew what a polder was, but it's a cool analogy. And it's funny you brought that up, how people, conservatives and liberals, highly religious, non-religious, or even anti-religious, how we've got to learn to start coming together. And one of the pieces on NPR was talking about the Netherlands and how if you live on a polder, Amsterdam, a lot of the big cities in the Netherlands are below sea level, and they get flooded all the time. So they got a series of dikes, levees, dams, and they've created polders. Basically, where the water is, they've created land and growing their flowers or whatever they, and for living on. They have houses on these polders, and it's land that shouldn't be there, kind of like Dubai, right? And if you're in a community that lives on a polder, it's something about the culture in the Netherlands where you can be vehemently disagree with their socio-political, religious views. But if you live on the same polder, everyone comes together to keep that levee up and running. And so they have a common cause. And we just lack that. You would think that maybe the hostile invasion of a sovereign country, unwarranted and unprovoked by Russia, you think that would have been it. But no, conservatives took a different side. So that didn't even bring us together. You would think, it seems like conservatives will just pick the wrong side just so they're different from the liberals. It feels like sometimes the obvious, the common sense, it's a foreign country, unprovoked attack another country. They will claim, well, Ukraine and US, we're just trying to build a banana republic. Still not a reason to invade a country unprovoked. Even if we were, which I don't think we are, trying to establish a puppet government, a banana republic in Ukraine, still not good enough. Ukraine military, a lot of neo-Nazis. The Azov battalion, I could talk about it all day. There might be some truth to it, not so much anymore, but there was before Zelensky, the past president. Even, okay, I'll give you that one too. That could be true even now. Still not a good reason to attack unprovoked a sovereign nation. There's no good argument for it. And you would think something like that, we could all come together. But no, they picked the wrong side too.
Yeah, they weren't sending in, special forces to take out some bad guys. They were just, they started a full-out war with a country. It's totally different. So trying to use the excuse, well, we had to blow up the whole country to catch 6 bad guys, that's a really weak argument.
Exactly. We're at the 2-hour mark, Dave.
I know. We started down here. Yeah, we're.
Oh, I got nothing but time. I don't know how long your shows go, though.
Yeah, I was down here where my note says to wind things up.
Oh, wow. See, man, I am a psychic.
One question I did want to ask you. Are you related to Ryan Hall, the meteorologist?
Is he local news or is he national?
He's an independent. He's independent on YouTube.
No. He
does show is called
he do national
Ryan.
weather?
He does independent for the whole country, and he has storm chasers and all that kind of stuff.
Not that I know of. It's funny. Most Halls I've ever met are a significantly different skin color than me, which is weird to me. It feels Hall seems like it would be very, English. We did the 23andMe, and it's all France, Iberian Peninsula, England, right? So I thought most Halls would have this color skin, but nope. Most of them are African Americans that I've met, which is interesting.
I was just watching him last night, and I threw it down there just to ask you. Maybe they're related, who knows?
When someone asks about ancestry or your astrological sign, I try to bite my lip. But if you put so much pride into something you had no control over, I just can't understand that. I ran a successful YouTube channel. I would love to. That I can feel proud of. I can't feel proud because of where I was born or where my ancestry. So when someone says that's just like you, a Sagittarius, which, oh my gosh. And when someone says, where are you from, your family, your ancestry, I also did the National Geographic Genome Project. I don't know if they even run it anymore. It might be done, but you can cheek swab for National Geographic, and they will do deep time one, 60 to 100,000 years. And every genotype on the planet ends up where? East Africa. Mm-hmm. So when someone says, what's your ancestry? I said, how far back do you want to go? If we're talking the last 200 years, it's England mostly and whatever. You want to go back another couple hundred years? Mongolia. If you want to go back another few thousand years, we're all Northern Africa and then Eastern Africa. So it's always how far back do you want to go? Mm-hmm. And conservatives, I would love to see the look on a conservative's face. They did the deep time one. especially
There's
the bigoted people, when they
there
realize their family trace it back far enough, and you're from Eastern Africa, baby.
I saw something one time where they were taking I don't know if they were, quote Nazis or whatever it was, but that
Mhm.
far, extreme, and they were doing that. They were showing what their ancestry was, and they were all of a sudden not so
Oh, that
Nazi
would be.
anymore. Yeah, there
How did
is.
they react?
I don't know if it was a Nightline
Oh,
show
I would
or
love to
or,
see
or
things
something
like
like
that.
that. I'll have to go. I'm gonna make a note and go look and see if I can find that. Yeah, they
Oh, send a link to
when
if
they
you find
find
it like
out
a
that they're
montage of
yeah.
conservatives losing their mind. That would be funny to watch. Oh, in the comments they asked, when I get an ace, do I thank Satan? I've never gotten an ace. I've been playing. I'm going to go to my grave and knock. An ace is a hole in one. Last summer, first time ever, but it was a very soft par five. And once you get out of the woods, it was pretty easy to. Yeah, it was. I wouldn't say it's easy to eagle. Eagle is 2 under par on a single hole.
I have to I have to hook you up with one of my Facebook peeps. He just had a video not too long ago where he hit an ace, and he had a video on. He was all happy and everything. So
Oh,
yeah,
there's a
next
course
time I
out
see it,
here. It's at an
I'll
elementary
connect
school.
you to.
There's a course here. It's at an elementary school. One of the holes is like 167 feet. So every so often, me and the crew will go there and we'll stay at that hole and we do ace runs. And no one's made one yet. None of my people. But yeah, if I'm going to get an ace, it's going to be at that little baby hole. And you know what? I'm going to consider that an ace if I get one. But
Well, before I let you go, I wanted to ask you what's your best advice you give to somebody that's starting a channel, how to grow your channel, how to engage your channel. Give your
okay,
from
you
your
ready?
experience. Yep. Here we go. Everybody get
I'm
their pen and paper
I'm gonna
ready.
blast you in the face. Yeah. Well, no, you already have it. In fact, if you just want to, I'm just going to hit the wave tops of the 23 commandments. So I'm going to do a Cliff Notes version. So you have to read your comments. Yeah, a lot of high profile people, atheists and not, will say never read your comments. It'll just make you upset. You got to, especially early on, you got to read your comments. Try to respond and engage with them as much as possible. People will tell you don't do exactly not that. Don't even look at your comments because it's just going to upset you because the trolls. You will grow thick skin eventually. Don't worry about that. If they make you feel bad, it's not going to last forever. In fact, do it for a year and you won't even see those negative. And don't respond to negative comments. Don't give them that satisfaction. But you're going to see a lot of questions on there, helpful tips, and try to engage with everyone else, not the trolls. Engage with. At one point, I had to start giving up on engaging with every comment because I think I crunched the numbers. I was trying to respond to 300 comments per month, I guess it was, and it just started getting too much. Hanging around Aaron Ra, it's the funniest thing. His phone never stops beeping. It never stops. He'll carry it he'll have it in his shirt pocket or on the table of the restaurant, and it just never stops beeping. I'm like, dude, just turn off your notifications. That's annoying as shit. But it never stops beeping.
He gave me a sad face last week on my post when my dog passed away. He took the time. He took the time. Yeah.
That's cool. I got a thumbs up from Ricky Gervais once. That was crazy on Twitter. I got a like. Ricky damn Gervais. Holy crap. What else? Don't be that guy that every 10 minutes, hey, remember to like and subscribe to if they like your channel, they're gonna like. You don't have to constantly beg them for that. What's another big one? I'll just end with this one. This is a big one. When you're talking to especially a believer, if they do it, call them on it. And if you do it, try to avoid doing it. Like recognize that you're doing it. Like I see this is, I don't do live shows all the time. So my chops, I used to be better at it, but I've been stepping on you during this conversation, stepping on you, interrupting you. Bad. And I'm going to go back and listen to this afterwards. And I'm going to see how this is a bad example of how you're supposed to be. Towards the end of my host duties, on Atheist Edge. I feel that I got pretty good at it. You're the host. You sit back, keep your mouth shut. The only time you should ever really be talking is just keeping the conversation moving ahead. And this whole time I've been stepping on every word you've been trying to say and not giving you a word. So that's a bad example. So yeah, interrupting is the biggest one. And if you're going to, don't you hate it when someone says, they send you a link, you got to see this. This totally debunks everything you said on your show. What? It's an hour and a half. It's 4.5 long video. You can't. That's a drive right there. You can't just drop an 1.5 hour video link on my comment section and expect. If you give me a time hack for me to start and it's only maybe 3 or 5 minutes of watching, okay, I might do that. But don't drop a whole big video. Or you need to read Guns, Germs, and Steel by Jared Diamond. Oh, okay, yeah, I got time for a 700-page book. I'm in the middle of 3 right now.
Yeah, and don't show up at a debate.
Chapter 3.
Yeah, don't show up at a debate with a book either and say and whip the book out and say, "Yeah, have you read this?" And the person says, "Well, no." And then they want to talk about it, and it's like, dude said he didn't read it. Put the book down. You know, it's a bad prop if the other person hasn't read it.
The only time I would ever think of doing it is if I got my law license. Like, it's good to do in a courtroom. You remember the evolution trial in Pennsylvania, the Dover versus whatever, the evolution on trial? There's a whole documentary about it on PBS. Yeah. Awesome. But but the people that they were cross-examining should have been familiar with at least some of that literature, because it's relevant to the field that they are supposedly experts in. So when the evolution proponents dumped a whole bunch of books on the jury, on the witness desk and said, "Are you familiar?" I don't read those. I don't. Really, you don't. You're not familiar with any of the literature in your chosen field of expertise. Yeah, I don't agree with those. You really. Yeah, so that would be the only time that you want, and that's putting someone on the spot for a reason. But in an informal debate, even a formal debate, don't say, "Are you familiar with the term gestalt, or some weird what?" Of course, I'm not familiar with that. Just instead of making me look like a jerk, you made yourself look like a jerk. Just tell me what gestalt means, or tell me the criterion of embarrassment. I think I know what it means. Tell me what you think the criterion of embarrassment means. Or Markan priority. I think I know what it means, but don't ask someone, "Do you know what Markan priority is?" It's just going to end up making
that goes
you look
along
like
with that goes along with one of your other commandments about what was the one?
Don't put them on the spot. It tends to backfire spectacularly.
Yeah. So yeah, you can go right back to the manual or to the 23 commandments.
Even a formal or informal debate, the best way to win: keep the audience laughing, keep them in a good mood, and say you have a good point a lot. Sun Tzu, the art of Sun Tzu, the art of war. It's not even an underhanded. They might have a good point, but Sun Tzu does it in wartime. Feign weakness, and you'll get an edge on the enemy. So I don't mean it like that. But it's kind of like that.
That's a great point.
Exactly. You just did it to me, and I'm flattered, and it worked. And I even knew what you were doing, and it still feels good to be flattered.
Right.
Yep. That's a great
Absolutely.
point.
And I know we've talked about it about the disc golf, but if anybody is interested in learning disc golf or how to improve your disc golf, or if you're in the area and you want to play disc golf, make sure you go over to Disc Oriented and check out Jim's channel.
If you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I'd love to play. Yeah.
If you haven't picked up on it, Jim would love to talk to you about it. And yeah, if you're in the area, he would love to play. So get a hold of him. All right. And is there anything else going on that you want to talk about or you want to plug?
No, although before we had to switch to a new show, you already had all the detailed list of links. So when those come back up, it'll all be on all the books, my new channel, the old channel, all that. So yeah, that was really good. And this has been really enjoyable. Thanks a lot.
Oh, well, thanks a lot for being here. And yeah, I will fix that. Sorry, it happens. I don't know what I did. I thought I was all on it, and I clicked the wrong button or something somewhere. I don't know. But next time, hopefully it'll be better. And it's always a learning experience. If you messed something up, you figured out how to fix it, next time how to fix it. So, hey, and we fixed it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, and one more thing I wanted to tell you. I did wear my shirt for you because it was in your book. I don't know if you can see it.
There
we go. Is that clear?
Yes. Yes. All the that was one of my.
I was trying to think of what to wear. I wanted because I got a lot of T-shirts and then I saw that and I was like, and my wife bought this for me too. So I was like, well, this is perfect. My wife bought it for me, and it's in his book. So this was just
that's great. I didn't have the money to hire an actual illustrator for that first book, so that was my daughter's renditions of all different fun things.
I love
they drew all those. Yeah, I thought it was pretty.
That was awesome.
Then I went and spent bucks after that on the second to hire an illustrator, and then third and fourth book AI, DALL-E, like AI renditions of. Mm-hmm. And a little known fact: if anything that you tell AI to make as far as artwork, that's yours. You own the copyright on it now. So I just used AI on the last two books. Yeah,
I know we've got Nerdy Rodent that's out in the community there, and he does a lot of that stuff. And he's got a lot of videos teaching people how to do that and everything. So yeah, if you're interested in that, check out Nerdy Rodent.
Yeah.
And I want to thank everybody for being in the chat. Like you were saying, a lot of friendly faces. Appreciate everybody being here. I hope Jim's advice and his experiences help you out. And do take what he says to heart. He's been around the block more than once. And he's a helpful guy. Like I say, he reached out to me and was helping me with my channel. And I thought it would be good to share it. And that's kind of why we put the video together, so everybody else could hear what he had to say and what his experiences were and everything. Help everybody out. And like he was saying, if somebody's starting out a channel and you can give them a little help, a little tip, an advice, go on their channel or something, it's all good for everybody. It helps out everybody. The algorithms and everything else all works out good for everybody. So it helps you too. And if there's anything else, I think it's about time we can wrap it up. Well, thank you again for being on, Jim. Hope we can talk again sometime.
Thank you.
And enjoy your semi-retirement. And I hope you get lots of aces.
Oh, thank you.